what it's all about! Or so I've been told. My team hasn't been there in a very long time. After the Leafs got eliminated, I finally got some rest and relaxation, and now I'm bored, so we're gonna talk about the Stanley Cup Final. But this is obviously not an LFR video, that would be a Leafs fan reaction, so I've decided to call this series Cup Check. You see, because innuendo. I also got watching the finals, or WTF. I like that suggestion a lot, and while we are WTF, I'm gonna stick with Cup Check. So game 1 of the 2018 Stanley Cup Final, the Vegas Golden Knights win 6-4 over the Washington Capitals. It was a bonkers, ridiculous 10-goal game, and the story doesn't even start there. Because the NHL always feels like such a also-ran league. Prior to Nashville being in the final last year, it was impossible to get big musical acts to perform at NHL events. But this year, the Stanley Cup Final opens in Vegas, and they get Travis Barker, who's like the gimmicky opening act for Little John, the captain of the Vegas Golden Knights. He was wearing a Sienna's jersey. I thought the Knights didn't have a captain. Turns out it's Little John. And he was the opening act for the opening act. You thought I screamed a lot. They bring out the Knights. His job is just to stand in center ice and go, yeah! And his opponent's guy with shoulder-length hair who has lost the previous 3 rounds. Guy was a Kings fan, Sharks fan, Jets fan, and now apparently he cheers for the Caps. And the dramatic Game of Thrones knockoff lady talked about how the Golden Knights vanquish foes on land, sea, and air. Kings, Sharks, Jets? That's pretty smart. And spoiler alert, the Night Guy won. Alright, we can finally drop the there's more! Let's get ready to... I don't want to get sued, but Michael Buffer was there. And I'm like, holy smokes, this is incredible and amazing, and we've never seen a Stanley Cup like this, and I go on Twitter, and people are complaining. And look, if you don't like that, fine. You don't need to like everything. But it's sports! Can we lighten up? It's like when people goof on the wave, and I see it, and I buy into it, and I go, yeah, screw the wave, I hate the wave. And you know what I see at sporting events when the wave starts? 95% of people in attendance, thousands, doing the wave, and they look like they're having so much fun. And remember, Golden Knights fans, well, you're kind of new here, but Caps fans, all other fans of the NHL, why do we watch hockey? Why do we watch sports? It's for the fun. Oh, you don't have to have any, but you should try to have some. And with that, the 3-hour pregame is over. Let's talk about the game. Speaking of fun, not exactly a chess match. Well, it was at one end of the ice anyway. About 5.5 minutes in, Vegas already has 5 shots. The Caps are still waiting on their first. Washington finally gets a little bit of sustained pressure, and Andre Burakovsky takes a silly penalty in the offensive zone. Vegas to the power play. Colin Miller with the puck. I could have swore he was going to throw it over to David Perron for the blast, but that guy doesn't have any playoff goals yet, so he takes the shot himself. Blasts it by Braden Holtby. No tip, no nothing. Just a rocket, and the Vegas Golden Knights, these guys, oh my god, are up 1-0 in game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Like, I already had a Capitals jersey. I bought this jersey this morning to have it in the video. Look at, I'm touching it. I still don't believe it's real. I'm not even used to their existence, and they're in the Stanley Cup Final. How? I'm sorry to Vegas for not taking them seriously enough, and I'm sincerely sorry to Caps fans. In round 1, I predicted the Kings would beat the Golden Knights. In round 2, I predicted the Sharks would beat the Golden Knights. In round 3, I predicted the Jets would beat the Golden Knights. And just before the game, I tweeted out my prediction, the Caps. And it's not even because I think Vegas stinks. Like, dude, how did they beat the Jets, and how did they beat them in 5? The Kings I predicted because they were one of the few teams who actually did well against Vegas in the regular season. But the Sharks, the Jets, the Caps have to have more firepower, right? Very wrong! Until a few minutes later. Just over 5 minutes left in the first. Andre Burakovsky, looking to get rid of those goat horns, passes it to Michael Kempny at the point. Shot, tip, bing! Beautiful sound for Caps fans. Brett Connolly ties the game up at 1, and Andre Burakovsky with the secondary assist, but anything to get out of that first goal. Hey, you screwed up, you made up for it, it's a new game. Also, you were a monster in Game 7 against Tampa. I feel like Caps fans forgive you. Very shortly after the tying goal, a very uncharacteristic Vegas play. The puck is in the slot, and Vegas is just kind of whacking at it. Eric Hall in particular, just what is he doing? TJ Oshie flies around the net and sort of accidentally on purpose throws it in front for Nicholas Backstrom. Doesn't matter how you pass it as long as it gets on that stick, and he puts it in the back of the net. 2-1 Caps. The more and more I watch Vegas play, obviously there's some complexities to their game, but what are they about? Speed and effort. It's been a thing since day 1 when everyone was like, look at Vegas on paper, they stink, they're gonna have to try every single night to even compete. And every single night in this regular season and in these playoffs so far, Vegas can and will outwork you. That's their identity. They will outwork your team. On this play, meh. A few times in the defensive zone in this game, really, it was sloppy. But you gotta give the Caps credit though, they were buzzing. And Backstrom's busted hand did alright on that play. William Karlsson comes in, crazy scoring chance, oh, he stopped. Man, William Karlsson's good. Over 40 goals, speed, skill, almost scored on us just now. So let's forget all about him. Riley Smith puts it behind the net, the puck is right there for William Karlsson, scores on Holtby, too easy, 2-2. And that's how we go into intermission. Whew. Incredibly fun start to to what should be an incredibly fun Stanley Cup final, but I'll tell you why at that intermission I decided to make these videos. Because the Leafs are obviously my team, but I watch hockey games all the time that don't involve them. And it's a thing, I can't explain it, I don't know why it happens, but when I'm watching two teams play, I almost always pick a favorite. It's not a conscious thing I do, it's just my heart wants one team to win over another. I don't mean to do it, I just do it. But a rare thing happened after 20 minutes of Washington and Vegas. I didn't have a favorite. I saw a lot of discussion on Twitter about, well, when my team's out, I don't watch hockey anymore. I think Game 1 proved that if you're not watching the Stanley Cup final, you're cheating yourself. There's the fairy tale finish, or there's a fan base that's been waiting for decades that might win it all for the first time. Both fan bases are giving it their all, both teams are giving it their all, and if you're not watching, it's kind of your loss. Again, you don't have to like everything, but you should like some things. Early in the second period, Vegas is buzzing. Marchessault in front of the net, he's got the puck, he shoots! Oh, the Caps dodged a bullet there. Well, now we can take a risk, and once again, a Golden Knight is all alone in front, and Vegas takes the 3-2 lead off a Riley Smith goal. It's ironic because it's Sin City, but the greatest trick that Vegas ever pulled was convincing the hockey world they didn't exist. William Karlsson, no, I'm not here. Riley Smith, no, I'm not here. I'm still in Florida. Look, I'm good. Why would they ever trade me? I know Matt Niskanen was on his knees when the goal went in, but I don't know where Brooks Orpik is going there. And you know, a lot was made in this game because Marc-Andre Fleury, they're talking about him as a Conn Smythe guy. Braden Holtby has been incredible in these playoffs. We're talking about a goaltending chess match, and we're less than halfway through the game and we already got 5 goals. And out of all the 5, I'm having a hard time blaming the goalies for any of them. Maybe the Colin Miller one, but that's reaching. Still less than halfway through the game, Backstrom passes it to the point to John Carlson. Oh, if Riley Smith cuts that off, it's a breakaway, but John Carlson corrals it. TJ Oshie no-look passes Shea Theodore and Marc-Andre Fleury out of their pajamas, and Carlson collects it. No one's even there. Practically an empty netter. The Caps tie at 3-3. Alright, remember I said it was kind of hard to fault the goalies for any of the goals? Look, you gotta give the Caps, TJ Oshie, John Carlson credit. It was an incredible goal, but where's Fleury going? It's funny, just before the game, the Hockey Night in Canada crew were talking about how Fleury was being more aggressive. He was attacking. He was basically standing outside of the blue paint. And if you look, he has a burst forward. He's very aggressive because he's preparing for the TJ Oshie spin and fire. His heart was in the right place, but he gets wrong on that one. And that's how we go to the third. Are you excited yet? Good, because first minute Tom Wilson comes in and off. Fleury again, having to be a big fish, but the Caps miss. Until seconds later, Ovechkin puts it on. Tom Wilson gets a piece of it. Fleury doesn't know where it is. Dude, it's right behind your skate, and it's in the back of the net now. Good work by the Caps. I'm not gonna fault Fleury for it. Sometimes you're bad, and sometimes regression comes and says, hi, sorry I've been missing for a month. More sorry to LA, San Jose, and Winnipeg. And for the second time in this game, the Capitals take the lead, thanks to future household name Tom Wilson. If you listen to the podcast, you know I've been riding this train. I think Tom Wilson is really gonna make a name for himself in this series, good or bad. No team that Vegas has played has ruffled their feathers enough. They need to take away their space. They need to be bothered. Face washing, nonsense after the whistles. San Jose flirted with it, but no one really did it enough. Who better suited to do that than Tom Wilson? Well, you see, the thing is Tom Wilson can actually score goals too. People talking about Tom Wilson fighting Ryan Reeves. What's Tom Wilson gonna fight Ryan Reeves for? He's a better player. What is Tom Wilson gonna waste? Oh my God, Ryan Reeves is scoring. Who are you? As if the screaming guy in the costume at the beginning of the game is the weirdest part about this team. Are you joking? Who could have predicted this? I don't know. I'll tell you something I could predict. Remember I was talking about Tom Wilson, the good and the bad? Center ice Wilson lights Marchessault up like a Christmas tree. Tom Wilson with a controversial hit? The nerve, the audacity. So, was the hit clean or dirty? I will say this. How often do we see a hit like that and it's straight to the brain? Tom Wilson, Jonathan Marchessault, that hit is exactly the sort of thing where I would expect to see a headshot and the argument afterwards being, well, one is taller than the other. To Wilson's credit, I guess, he got Marchessault in the arm and shoulder. It was definitely a blindside hit, but even then people go, well, he turned. But the final aspect, that hit was late. Oh, no, don't give me that. That hit was so late, it must be pregnant. It is at least a full Mississippi after Marchessault gets rid of the puck, and don't think that Tom Wilson doesn't know that that's Jonathan Marchessault. So there was an injury on the play, and Marchessault had to go off for concussion protocol, but then he came back in the game, so maybe there isn't an injury. An injury does factor into the whole suspension conversation. Head contact factors into the suspension conversation. This is a tough one to call because Wilson was already given a 3-game suspension in these playoffs. And I already said on the podcast that while I thought he should have been suspended, I thought it was bizarre he was given 3 games given what other hits similar to that one were given in these playoffs. This hit was interference, for sure. Should have been a penalty, at least a minor penalty. Are they going to give him that? Are they going to give him that in the Stanley Cup final? No head contact and no lasting injury on the play? I don't think so, but Tom Wilson. If Marchessault is down for a long time, if there's clear head contact, absolutely, Wilson's gone. But the other factor, there's lots of ways to get concussions. You get hit in the shoulder hard enough, yeah, you're gonna get a concussion. I have a hard time believing Jonathan Marchessault didn't get his egg scrambled a little bit on that play. And if that is the case, well, it happened on an illegal hit. It's interference, man. After the game, Marchessault said, well, the league's gonna handle it. I bet. Wilson said Marchessault said it was a good hit. I didn't see them speak after the incident. I seem to recall Marchessault writhing in pain on the ice. My prediction, they're not gonna give him anything. What complicates matters even more, they gotta do something about David Perron. David Perron jumps on the ice, he's the sixth man, makes contact with Ovechkin, and gives him a cross-check. The rules on that are black and white. Take it from a Leafs fan, David Clarkson sat the first 10 games of his Leafs career. Hey, you should know him, he's on your team. Does he get a ring if you win? The only time I can think of where they went lenient on something like that was Paul Bissonnette years ago, jumped off the bench and somehow only got 3 games instead. Perron didn't drop the gloves and punch Ovechkin in the head, but he did give him a shot, and he was the extra guy after the whistle. Well, he didn't punch or fight him. Yeah, that's what I said about Clarkson too. I don't think Perron's gonna get suspended. I don't think Wilson's gonna get suspended. I do, however, think they have to fine Perron, and if he's the only person who gets any kind of repercussions after that hit, people are gonna freak, so I think they maybe both get fined. Or it's the Stanley Cup Final and murder is practically legal, so what's a little cross-check and they leave it alone. But in the moment I'm watching the game, Marchessault gets hit by Wilson, Marchessault goes down the tunnel, and the game continues. By the way, it's a tied game in the third period of Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Can you imagine if the Golden Knights, without Marchessault, lose this game? Just over halfway through the third period, Shea Theodore with the puck at the point. I don't think he's had the greatest game so far. He's looked shoddy on a couple of the goals against Vegas. Unbelievable pass to Stefan Nosek, makes no mistake past Holtby. Vegas takes the lead 5-4. And Nosek, who got rocked shortly before that as well, loses his mind. And I feel like I'm losing my mind because that is back-to-back goals, the tying goal and the game-winning goal of Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final by the fourth line of an expansion team. Sure, yeah. Less than a minute to play, Tom Wilson charging in, throws in the slot for Eller, it's a gimme. And on a warm May day in Vegas, Lars Eller creates a cool desert breeze. Oh, he just missed the puck. The Capitals will not get a better chance than that. Nosek scores an empty netter because, of course, life is silly. And Vegas takes Game 1 of the 2018 Stanley Cup Final. Okay. Capitals fans, if I were you, since you lost, the Caps cannot allow themselves to get down on themselves after a game like this. They had chance after chance. Lars Eller almost buried it. John Carlson hit the goalpost. You were right there with Vegas. Caps could have just as easily won that game. One thing I noticed in the Vegas Jet series is Winnipeg almost let Vegas get in their head, it seemed. Like Fleury's just playing unconscious, but Winnipeg just looks so defeated on the ice and on the bench. Actually, Caps fans, Game 7 against Tampa. Tampa looked beat before you beat them. Now, I never got that impression from the Capitals in this one. The game was way too tight, and even though Vegas scored the quick early one, the Caps fought back and they got the lead. They got the lead twice. Braden Holtby cannot allow Vegas to get in his head. The Capitals cannot allow Vegas to get in their head. I don't think they're going to. They're hungry as hell. They're desperate as hell. They want to win this thing. I don't think either team walked in here expecting a cakewalk. And if you can believe it, that was only Game 1. The Vegas Golden Knights are 3 wins away from the Stanley Cup, but the Washington Capitals only need 4. We're not done here, folks. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. I know it's a bit of a different video, but different is good sometimes. Click like if you liked this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends that Game 2 is 8 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday.